reached the Wonder Dome, Secret Fortress of Wonder Woman, Judy speaking. No, I'm sorry, Wonder Woman doesn't do celebrity appearances for birthday parties. While I appreciate that your son's birthday party is a big deal, unfortunately, Wonder Woman just doesn't have the time. You know, protecting the planet from supervillains is more than a full-time job, and she is booked solid. Maybe give the Flash a call. He might be able to make a quick appearance. Okay, thanks for your call. Oh, good morning. I heard you were coming. I'm Judy, and I am Wonder Woman's Chief Office Administrator. Well, if I'm honest, I'm her only employee. But Wonder Woman asked me if I could help you out. You see, Wonder Woman knows that I love Bible stories about heroic women. So, for the next 8 weeks, I will be sharing some really cool Bible stories with you. Let's first talk about what it means to be a hero. Now, a hero is a person who is looked up to for doing great or brave things to help others, you know, like Wonder Woman. Heroes sometimes need to make hard choices that require them to be brave. Long before anyone had ever heard of Wonder Woman, there were some women doing heroic things for God, with God's help, of course. One of those women lived in the city of Susa, in the kingdom of Persia. She was a young Jewish gal named Esther. Esther ended up having to make a really difficult choice that would require a lot of courage. Let's dig into the Bible story for this week to see what made Esther a hero. I got something to show you. After the death of her parents, Esther was raised by her cousin Mordecai, who adopted her as his own daughter. Esther grew into a beautiful young woman. At that time, King Xerxes of Persia was on the hunt for a new queen. Because Esther was very beautiful, she was brought to the palace along with other beautiful young women. After some time, Xerxes chose Esther out of all the beautiful young women to become his new queen. Esther didn't tell anyone she was Jewish because Mordecai had warned her not to. One day, Mordecai, who was also Jewish, refused to bow down to one of Xerxes' officials named Haman. This greatly angered Haman. He knew Mordecai was a Jew. Because of his anger against Mordecai, he convinced King Xerxes to give an order to destroy all the Jewish people living in the kingdom of Persia. Haman didn't know, however, that Queen Esther was also Jewish, or that Mordecai had raised her. When Mordecai heard of the king's order, he was so sad that he put on black clothing, and he cried loudly and stayed at the palace gate. Esther was unaware of the order, but had heard that Mordecai was upset, so she sent one of the king's servants, Hatach, to the gate to see what was wrong with Mordecai. Mordecai gave Hatach a copy of the order. It commanded people to wipe out the Jews. The order had been sent from Susa. Mordecai told Hatach to show the order to Esther. He wanted him to explain it to her. Mordecai told him to tell her to go and to beg the king for mercy. Mordecai wanted her to make an appeal to the king for her people. Hatach went back and reported to Esther what Mordecai had said. Then Esther directed him to give an answer to Mordecai. She told him, "There is a certain law that everyone knows about. All the king's officials know about it. The people in the royal territories know about it. It applies to any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner courtyard without being sent for. It says they must be put to death. But there is a way out. Suppose the king reaches out his gold scepter toward them. Then their lives will be spared. But 30 days have gone by since the king has sent for me." Esther's words were reported to Mordecai. Then he sent back an answer. He said, "You live in the king's palace. But don't think that just because you are there, that you will be the only Jew who will escape. What if you don't say anything at this time? Then help for the Jews will come from another place.
But you and your family will die. Who knows? It's possible that you became queen for a time just like this.
Then Esther sent a reply to Mordecai. She said, "Go, gather all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for my benefit. But don't eat or drink anything for 3 days. Don't do it night or day. I and my attendants will fast just as you do. Then I'll go to the king. I'll do it even though it's against the law. And if I have to die, I'll die." So Mordecai went away. He carried out all of Esther's directions. On the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal robes. She stood in the inner courtyard of the palace. It was in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the hall. He was facing the entrance. He saw Queen Esther standing in the courtyard, and he was pleased with her. So he reached out toward her with the gold scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther approached him, and she touched the tip of the scepter. The king asked, "What is it, Queen Esther? What do you want?" "I'll give it to you. I'll even give you up to half of my kingdom." Oh, sorry. Even though Esther was queen, it was still a really big deal for her to approach the king to ask for mercy for her people. If someone approached the king when he hadn't sent for them, they could be put to death, even the queen. She was scared to do this, but her people needed her. So she asked Mordecai to gather the Jewish people together to fast and to pray for 3 days, while she and her servants fasted and prayed. She needed God's help to do this. It was a very scary time for her people. God answered their prayers, though, and gave Esther the courage to make the right choice and go to the king to help save her people. God caused the king to be glad when he saw Esther, and he held out his golden scepter to welcome her. God also answered their prayers by making a way for the Jewish people to be saved from death. Let's take a look at the big idea today and say it together. Heroes have the courage to make the right choice, even when it's hard. As kids, many of the choices you face aren't nearly as difficult as Esther's. Most of the choices are pretty routine. Am I going to wear a blue shirt or a red shirt to school? Will I eat Rice Krispies or Cheerios for breakfast? Sometimes we have to make tough choices, though. Now, would you be brave enough to step in and defend a classmate who got picked on for being different? Or what if making the right choice meant your friends would reject you? These choices are harder to make. That's when making the right choice is heroic. The amazing thing is, though, we don't have to do it alone. We can pray to God to give us courage to do what is right, especially when it's hard. When we stand up for what is right, we show other people the right thing to do. And God can use us to give others the courage to do the right thing too. And he can use us to help direct other people to Jesus. If being a hero was easy, everyone would do it. Heroes make tough choices. Heroes make right choices. As we go through this series, ask God to give you the courage to be a hero. Ask for the wisdom and the courage to make the right choices every time. Ask God to make you a hero. Thanks for coming to see me today at the Wonder Dome. Come back next week for another Bible story about another heroic woman of the Bible. Until then, be heroic and make the right choice, even when it's hard, just like Queen Esther. Oh, I gotta go. I have another call coming in. So bye-bye for now. Good morning. You have reached the Wonder Dome, Secret Fortress of Wonder Woman. Judy speaking.